Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Get connected, Fitchburg. Sign up for Fitchburg Connect, the city's monthly e-newsletter that keeps you informed about all the events, services, and updates that matter to you. Get it in your inbox once a month. Sign up today to get Fitchburg Connect.
Stay connected everywhere you go. Fitchburg is on your phone and your tablet and your laptop and TV. Download the app. It's free. Access Fitchburg. This is your city at your fingertips.
All right, so we'll go ahead and call to order the July 13th RCC meeting. First order of business is appointment of the timekeeper. Ron, would you be willing to be the timekeeper tonight? All right, thank you, Ron. Item number 2, public appearances on non-agenda items. I don't see any slips, don't see anybody here, so we'll say there are none of those. Move on to approval of the minutes from the June 8th RCC meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I second.
Kim moves and makes the motion, and then Ron seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the draft minutes from June 8th, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the minutes pass. Moving on to our agenda items for tonight, our new business. So discussion of the recommendation for the 2027 solid waste collection rate. Ben.
All right, I'll share my screen here. Let's see if it shows up here. All right. So I think a lot of us here have seen this before, but essentially each year we have to set new solid waste rates for anyone that's on the city's contract for refuse and recycling collection. The main kind of exercise with this is estimating contractual costs in 2027. So that's what this table here up on the screen shows. There's not a whole lot to it. It's not super complicated. A lot of this stuff there shouldn't really be too many big surprises. The contract with Pelletary outlines exactly what the unit costs are for these different services. So just for example, that first one, refuse 52 total, and it says $9.11. That's basically the cost per collection for refuse. So there's 52 weeks in the year, you get it collected each week. You multiply it by the total number of people in the city. So we're thinking at the beginning of 2027, we'll have about 6,650 people on the contract. And by the end, we'll have about 6,750 people on the contract. So you multiply that out and you get this $732,444. So the math is the same for all these rows here. And that's kind of how the costs are determined. So if you were to look at just the Pelletary costs, it would be the sum of this 720,000 and 757,000. But there's some other costs that aren't just Pelletary, right? So there's our shred events that we have each year. there's a cost associated with those. There's a cost associated with the food scrap stop program, so we've got that included. One of the things that we can't really predict that well is the fuel surcharges, and this year was a good example of that. So just with some of the uncertainty with diesel prices, we want to have a little contingency. So that's kind of what that $30,000 is. Sharps disposal, oil and oil filters. So this is the receptacle at the drop-off site and servicing that. Illegal dumping, so sometimes people dump stuff from the side of the road. You know, we're not just going to leave it there, so we pick it up and have to pay for to dispose those things. Tires, so you know, for the fleet vehicles, work with I think it's Pomps Tires. They'll collect the old tires. Yard waste grinding. So again, this is from the drop-off site. About 2 to 3 times a year, we'll have someone come in and grind up all the yard waste. That's the first step of the composting process. And then I've got this yard waste disposal. So this is for the curbside collection of brush and yard waste that Pelletary does. The city just doesn't have the capacity or you know, area available to process the curbside brush along with what people drop off. So that stuff has to get taken to Purple Cow. So the city every 3 years enters into a 3-year contract with Purple Cow, or has done that the last several years. We just got a contract back from Purple Cow that'll be going through a contract review, and we'll see a resolution for it here. Should be next month. But those are, you know, other than kind of the staff costs, these are the big contractor costs that we know we're going to have in 2027.
And could you refresh me, what constitute a unit? I know single-family dwellings, and what else?
Yeah, so a single family, if you have, let's say a duplex, 2 units, 1 per each, it's basically
up to 4-plex,
it is up to 4-plex.
But when you say units, though, it's really carts. It's not.
It's like you know, living space, 1 family or
so
1
a 4-plex
person.
counts as 4 units.
Correct.
So when you project an increase of 100, so that means 100 new dwellings will be built within the city in a year?
That would, yes, exactly. That would be the estimate. Yeah.
Does that seem what it's been like averaging, or? Seems like a lot, but.
Well, on the other hand, we've been gaining 1,000 people a year the last couple of years.
A lot of that goes to apartments.
Yeah, well, the vast majority of it, I think, has been.
I just don't see new single-family homes going up per se, other than apartments.
Well, I think, are there still some going up
There's still
Highfield
some.
Reserve?
Yep, Highfield Reserve and Terravessa are the 2 big neighborhoods. There's some other smaller ones, Inspiration Point, kind of in the Swan Creek neighborhood.
Well,
You've got
but that's like 60, so that's, you know,
Yep.
half of this increase. I don't know how fast, they don't seem to be building very quickly over there.
Right, but there is the potential for those homes, and the nice thing is, at the end of the day, if you know, I mess up and we're off by 50 some homes, it doesn't really matter because
We got to reconcile at the end of the contract period anyway.
Well, right. So Pelletary
would rather be a little bit higher than.
And Pelletary is only going to bill based on the actual number of units that they collect. So
if we go over or under, does that go in or out of the fund balance then, or? Like
over the total contract cost? Yeah. So if there was a year where, right, we just took, you know, there was a huge explosion in people that were getting this. That's essentially what would happen. And then the next year we may have to do like a slightly bigger increase or something and look at it.
But does it, I mean, for budgeting purposes, we're looking at this, but and to figure out the rates. So you're saying, like, everybody's gonna be billed whatever we set the rate at, and so that amount may be a little higher or a little lower than Pelletary's actual billings.
Yes, that's kind of a good way.
And it's kind of based on like how much it's typically, I mean, like you have numbers of the actuals each time, so you kind of take that into consideration a little bit when you set these numbers, and you also have the best perspective on the number of new dwellings that are going in.
Yep, and when you look at it, so if you're off by like 50 or even 100, it only would, the analysis would only start to kind of look like it's recommending a couple more dollars.
Yeah.
So say that doesn't come to fruition, basically the next time you do it, you just, you would, recommend a rate that was a couple dollars less than. So it all kind of works out, from one year to the next. So yeah, total contractual costs, we're looking at about $1,600,000, just shy of. So what does that mean? This is the kind of budget spreadsheet or rate analysis spreadsheet. So it kind of looks at, all right, so what if we have these different charges, what's that going to mean as far as fee revenue goes? We know we have certain other revenues, so that's like the state provides a grant in the amount of about $105,000 each year. We can count on that revenue. There's some other ones like interest on temporary investments, P-card rebates. So those are revenues that we can count on that doesn't come from residents. You take the budget, so that includes all of the contractor costs plus staff wages, insurance, all those kinds of things. And then you kind of subtract the two numbers and you get a difference. So these positive numbers here basically mean, if you charge, so we'll look at this 240. So if we set the rate at 240, we would anticipate at the end of the year needing to apply a $30,000 fund balance. And if you recall in years past, the recommended fund balance is 20-25% or so, and we've been higher than that, like 30%. And we've been trying to reduce the amount that we raise the rates each year, so we can kind of eat up a little of that fund balance to get it back to probably a little bit more appropriate amount. So even though you see, well, why are you recommending a rate that is going to cause a fund balance to be applied of $30,000, but that's essentially the reason. So with that, and you go over, you'd be ending up with a fund balance that's about 29.1% of the budget. So this year, we don't obviously know all the costs yet, but we're looking like we're gonna kind of be on track with what we assumed last year of having to have like I think it was a $10,000 fund balance payment. We'll see how it shakes out, but it looks like we'll eat into that fund balance a little bit, like what we were trying to do. And I'd kind of recommend doing the same thing here. I did kind of have in green the loosely recommended at this point, rate of 240. So that's about a 1.7% increase from the current rate, which is $236. You'll notice that an increase of 1.69 is quite a bit less than here, this 4.13% increase. That's costs from, and that should say 26 to 27, but so the contract costs are increasing faster than what we're increasing the rates, and again, that just goes back to trying to eat at that fund balance a little bit.
Now, this is kind of a treat. I mean, over 4 years, 23 to 27, the rate's only going up. If you're using the 240, it's a 5.25% increase over that time period.
It's been very reasonable. Yep. Some of that has to do with the temporary investments. That's not something we want to put a pie in the sky budget number in because it could easily be. So, you know, we're fairly conservative with what we budget there, you know, $20,000, but in the last couple of years, it's been closer to $60,000. So that's an additional
50,000 of remaining funds or?
Interest income.
Interest income.
Okay, yeah.
So that's, you know, that's a pretty significant chunk. And that's part of the reason why the fund balance has kind of been building up as well,
Sure.
because we're not expecting to get $60,000 every year, so.
We did go through like a phase back, you know, I want to say the late 20-teens when things changed in the recycling markets, like not as much of our stuff was going over to China. And so we had to endure some pretty hefty increases for a period of time due to some of the changes in those recycling markets, but looks like it has stabilized despite, you know, things that are happening, you know, out in the world, you know, inflation and rising gas prices. You know, it looks like we're navigating through that, you know, pretty well. When is the next 5-year contract?
So this current one goes through 2029. So in 29, we'll start, early in 29, we'll probably January, we'll start looking at another RFP.
And then what was kind of the, or maybe you're gonna get to it, the apartment rush collection?
Sure. So with this one, it's, you know, what I've kind of been trying to do is just increase it at a similar rate as what we've been increasing the, so this increase from 735 to 750 represents pretty close to a 1.7% increase, which matches the proposed increase. And I did kind of highlight these other, you know, frankly, I think any one of these that are highlighted in yellow is a viable option. You know, you could do 238. That's a pretty aggressive amount of fund balance, I guess. You know, you'd be looking at applying, but you know, it's not. I don't think it's crazy. You might have to increase it more next year if something happens. But on the other side of that, you could go 242, which is just, again, a slightly less aggressive amount of fund balance you'd be proposing to apply. So that I think is like $17,000 compared to the about $30,000. So I think my recommendation will be right kind of in the middle of that. But frankly, I don't know that you could go wrong with any of those numbers. So I guess, does anyone have any other kind of questions or thoughts on this?
So the remaining fund balance, say at the end of the year, you're predicting what, it's 706,000? Last year was almost 700,000.
Yes.
So that's money that's actually in an account somewhere.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Does that money draw interest on anything, or
That's the.
is that considered in here?
Yeah, that's the interest on temporary investments, I believe, and that's the one where we've been kind of conservative with trying to estimate the revenue on that. You just don't know exactly how it's gonna go from one year to another.
I had a question on the previous image you had on the table. Yeah. So refuse is like twice as expensive as picking up recycling. My recycling cart is twice as big as twice the volume, I should say, not necessarily twice the weight of my refuse. Can you talk about
why?
Yeah, why is recycling so much cheaper for them to take away?
Yeah, so a lot of it has to do with the fact that this material it can be recycled, it has value. So they're able to recoup some dollars, right? And when it's the landfill, it goes in the landfill, you have to pay the tipping fees. You're not getting paid for any of that material, whereas cardboard, glass, aluminum, all that stuff, they can sell that.
Okay.
So there's providers that need raw materials, and so like if Terry goes out there and says they want kind of recycled cardboard for packaging that they're making, then they can sell that material to them, as opposed to paying the landfill to PMP, like Dan was saying, so.
It's interesting though, because, if you're just taking stuff to the landfill, you don't have a lot of capital costs involved, like, except for your trucks, whereas if you've got you got the whole MRF that you gotta build and maintain, and so they're still coming out ahead apparently.
Yeah, it is interesting when you look at that, because, it's pretty close to half the cost.
Right.
Yeah, and that's common with like pricing for businesses too, you look at, I remember when we were doing the school recycling, like we were looking at the number of pickups, so like this was part of like what our analysis was, we're like, well, they're coming to the school because they're throwing, potentially throwing out the milk cartons at that time, and because of that, they're coming, and then all the other waste, there was just a lot of volume, like, because the trays weren't being stacked, so they had like 60 bags of trash that were coming out of the lunchroom every day. And then, after our program got in place, it went down to 15, and they were able to reduce the number of pickups on the trash from like 5 days a week to 3 days per week.
Wow.
And so like we saw like the numbers on like what it costs, the district had for a cost on like recycling carts versus trash. And so like, well, we can move these milk cartons into the recycling cart, and those are getting picked up, once a week, taking volume away from this, and we're reducing the pickups at, these trash carts, then, that's a net positive, and there's less greenhouse gas emissions for the hauling part of that. So, those things are positives, and so like, when people are thinking about like waste reduction, like businesses, like this is, a good place to, especially if people are, if they're having to get pickups multiple times per week, you're trying to, what can we do to kind of change, the waste product that we're generating as a company or a business or a school or whatever.
Confinements behind us.
Okay.
Oh,
All right. Well, the next steps will be I'll kind of discuss, what I presented with our finance department, and then next month you'd see this come through as a resolution to formally set the rate.
Sounds good. Yeah, Ryan, as a budget guy, do you have any thoughts on any of this? This is kind of.
Makes sense. We did it last year, it's very similar.
Wanted to get your economic perspective. So, thank you. Any other questions or comments on that? So we'll actually vote on it next month.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We'll have the resolution coming through.
All right, thank you, Ben. Next agenda item is review of the Dane County Water Quality Plan. Ben?
Yes, and I'll share my screen in here. I did want to bring this up because if you saw in the packet, I just kind of had the print off from the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission's website, kind of discussing their intent to refresh or update the plan. So just kind of a little background. The Dane County Water Quality Plan, it's kind of essentially made up of a bunch of different documents and appendices, going back all the way from the 1970s, technical documents on groundwater to, things that have been published more recently. But what I've got on the screen right now is just the cover page of the summary plan, right? So the summary plan itself is definitely the document to read. It is a little lengthy at 110 pages of a lot of kind of technical reading. And the appendices are certainly even more technical. But essentially it just needs a little refresh. A lot of things have changed in the past 22 years. There's different environmental concerns. We know different things that we didn't have and didn't know in 2004. There's different regulatory environments. So there's a lot of good reasons to update this plan. And it kind of serves as a policy framework. So it's not necessarily like a regulatory document that outlines, okay, if you're a developer, you have to do X, Y, Z. It does have, again, kind of this policy framework that talks about kind of goals. It has a lot to do with land use planning. That's a really big part of it, is not just, you know, how treating the water, but using development almost as a tool to kind of avoid some of these negative outcomes that can happen if maybe you develop in a place that shouldn't have been developed. So it has a lot of that information in it. And actually tomorrow there's going to be a little bit of a kickoff meeting about this update. And I know they're also looking to get input from, you know, community members or just the public at large. So I thought this would be a good thing to discuss. And yes, I recognize it's pretty long. I'm assuming no one's read this yet, or
We couldn't because there weren't active links in the packet.
Okay. I'll send a link after this meeting, just so everyone has this. I do think it would be kind of an interesting thing to continue discussing at this meeting, just because it does kind of get into a little bit of policy and recommendations. I think there is kind of a lot of overlap with what's in this plan and kind of the purpose of this commission. So just a real brief overview of it. It goes into the background. It talks about current conditions, so both surface waters, rivers, lakes, as well as the groundwater. It talks about the different sources of pollution, so it looks at the whole county, and there's a lot of great maps in here that kind of highlight, you know, potential sources of pollution, you know, both kind of point sources, so wastewater treatment plants or industry, as well as kind of those non-point sources, you know, like agriculture or just kind of the overall built environment. It talks a little bit about management of existing resources. So this is, you know, it gets into kind of those development policies, promoting, you know, avoiding wetlands, critical habitats near streams and so forth. And then at the very end, it also does provide a framework for action.
I mean, was all this before Yahara Wind and Clean Lake Alliance and things like that, with all those action committees, work that's being done?
Yes, so this
update's going to include a lot of that new information being generated by those organizations.
Yeah, it predates a lot, if not all of that.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I think, a pretty big effort to update this whole document, and it, you know, it'll be something that continues on into 2027. But I did just want to highlight a couple.
Well, I guess that's an interesting point, though. So, like, how big is this compared with other initiatives like Yahara Winds? Like, is the entire Yahara River watershed and everything, is that fully contained in Dane County, or does it, you know?
Yeah, so it's not quite fully contained in Dane County. Some of the Yahara watershed is in Columbia County. But Yahara Winds is a little bit of a different thing. It basically came up as a way to meet a regulatory requirement. So all these MS4 communities, including Fitchburg, Madison, everywhere else, the point source contributors, so that's like MMSD with their wastewater plant, we all have this permit. It's the MS4 permit, and it does include, you know, the TMDL requirements. Basically, none of the, you know, very few municipalities, MMSD, they're not able to meet the MS or the TMDL requirements, the required reductions of phosphorus and TSS. So instead of, you know, meeting them, you know, on site in the city, what pretty much all of these municipalities in Dane County that have this permit, they're paying into this Yahara Winds program. And they go ahead and they put out practices on agricultural land, so things like filter strips or grass waterways or no-till farming, because it's just so much cheaper to do those things than, say, build a new pond in an urban environment. And it provides a good value. So that's kind of Yahara Winds. It's something that municipalities and just permittees in general are doing because it represents, I think, the most fiscally viable alternative to meet the regulatory requirements. What this document is, it's from the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission, so they kind of approve are involved with neighborhood planning, sewer service extension, so and that's kind of the big thing. Anytime there's a new urban development, if there's not utilities out there, someone's got to run storm or sanitary sewer, water, all those things. So when you're running new sanitary sewer, you would have to get a sanitary extension approval through CARPC. So they kind of look at this neighborhood that you're planning, and they kind of use this document to see if it kind of matches in with the goals. So now again, a lot of this document is goals. It's not you have to do this, but there are some kind of components of this, for example, like the environmental corridors. So that's, you know, areas next to wetlands, streams, forested areas. You know, CARPC is going to look at that neighborhood plan and see if have the environmental corridors been kind of delineated correctly, and kind of things of that nature. So this is more so like a development planning document, where the Yahara Winds is kind of just something that permittees have to do or choose to do because it provides a good value to meet the permit requirements.
So if there's a Venn diagram between this and that and Renew the Blue and I'm not sure what else, how much overlap is there?
So I mean there's a little overlap just in the sense that, you know, Yahara Winds, Renew the Blue, Clean Lakes Alliance are all kind of collecting different data, and that data might make its way over into here to inform.
So a lot of data sharing, but
yeah,
you know, everything is, all the tasks are kind of separated.
It's a little bit siloed, except for one thing I'll say. I'll go to the very end here, see if I can. They do have some specific goals outlined for each community. So here's City of Fitchburg here. You know, a lot of them are fairly vague, like implementing the state NR 151, NR 216 permit. That probably had a lot more meaning in 2004 because this was fairly new. So, you know, there's probably more questions about, you know, how do we implement this? It's kind of been, you know, we've been following NR 151 and NR 216 for over a couple decades now, so that's just at this point kind of seems more like a bit of a vague recommendation.
So we implemented all these since then? The ones that we haven't done, or?
Yeah, for the most part, you know, we do.
Word in number 2, vigorously enforce.
Yeah, and I don't know what that means, but what vigorously means, but the city does contract with Dane County to provide more kind of erosion control inspections, which I don't believe the city was doing at this point. Enforce infiltration maximization measures. Yep, it's you know, the requirement is 90%. That's what people are held to.
Do we have any development going on in the Ninth Springs area?
How well defined is the Nine Springs area?
Yeah,
That's the upper part.
The watershed. So there's not like new subdivisions going in, but it's redevelopment.
Is the Uptown area, like by the Life Point Hospital,
yeah,
is that technically part of?
So yes, so the Life Point and the Lido Apartments, they're right on kind of the border between Swan Creek and Nine Springs. They drain to Nine Springs, or I'm sorry, they drain to Swan Creek.
Okay.
But much of the rest of that uptown development, so if you know, you take Lacey,
Like where
north,
Lacey and Cheryl roundabout is.
North side of Lacey, north of Lacey? Does
Yeah,
that
north.
more so go to Nine Springs?
Yeah.
And the other side goes to Swan.
Yeah, and I guess I could probably bring my map up here.
I mean, it's interesting in this time period for us, the focus was on Nine Springs Creek, nothing about Swan Creek in here, where we've had a lot of development occur at Swan Creek.
Right.
So I'm just surprised, Swan Creek wasn't addressed back then. So I just wonder if in the next go round, are we gonna address Swan Creek, Murphy's Creek, things that we haven't, or could be impacting?
Mm-hmm. And I think Murphy's Creek is definitely kind of the next one, and it may be a long time before there is significant development in that area, but Swan Creek is, there's a lot of Swan Creek watershed left that isn't built out yet in the city, but definitely Murphy's Creek has the biggest area that's completely kind of untouched by urban development at this point. But the only thing I'd say that wasn't really completed, or at least maybe not the way it was envisioned in here, is the protection plan. So there have been Nine Springs Creek watershed plans completed by the city, but they weren't really done in conjunction with Dane County and City of Madison. But yeah, I mean, besides that, I think a lot of these things, or all of these things, we can check off. I mean, definitely the frequent street sweeping. I don't know if the city had a street sweeper in 2004.
Yes, I remember.
Probably.
My oldest is 29, and when he was a toddler, he used to go to the front window and watch the street sweeper all the time.
So yeah, I think getting some new recommendations for 2027 and beyond will be a big part of this as well.
Now, who will develop those recommendations for the city then? Is that something that we would do, or?
So I imagine it'll be in coordination with CARPC. So they have an environmental engineer on staff, Nick Bauer. So he's kind of the one that will probably have a lot of kind of input in this, and maybe we could even see if he'd want to do a little presentation for us at some point.
Yeah.
It could be interesting to hear from him.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
So, yeah, again, it'll be, a months long process, and I'd like to kind of bring this back up at future meetings once we kind of know how this process is going to go, because I do think there is some good opportunities for us to make some suggestions.
Are you going to the meeting tomorrow morning?
I am, yep. Okay. So I guess that's all I have on this at this point in time. I don't want to get too into the weeds, but just wanted to introduce it as this is kind of a big thing coming up.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments about this agenda item from anyone?
We covered some time.
Andy's hand up.
We're a minute behind.
Oh, is his hand up? Oh, it's your mouse.
All right. So moving on to agenda items for old business. Agenda item 5A, plastic recycling event planning. So we do have a plastic recycling event coming up in a couple weeks, and so I know Kim and Ben have met about this and have been planning some things out, and I haven't seen the Fitchburg Star. I don't know if the article was in there.
Yeah.
It was? Okay. So good.
By the skin of my teeth.
All right. So why don't you tell us about what's happening with the event, what you need from us, and then we'll help you market it.
Okay. So as you mentioned, I was able to get a room reserved at the library, and the event will be on July 23rd from 5:30 to 7. Ben and I met to kind of talk through an outline of what the event would look like, and we're still working through it, but probably what we're looking at is putting together a PowerPoint to kind of talk through some of the impacts of plastics and microplastics and how they're everywhere. And Ben has been collecting examples of various plastics, and I am as well. And we'll talk through kind of Fitchburg's commitment to working with Pelletieri to find, businesses and kind of talk through so people understand that by recycling these plastics, they're actually going somewhere and not just in the landfill. And then kind of talk through the difference between what plastics go into your curbside bin and then what hard to recycle plastics Fitchburg is taking at the drop-off center. And we'll actually have examples to show people, which I think will be helpful because it can be visuals, and we'll have some resources and stuff to hand out and be able to pull up links to the City of Fitchburg site, that kind of shows where all the information is for people. And then, kind of talk through the importance of, what they can do, kind of what I had in my article, which, reducing, reusing, recycling, and refusing. And I'll probably bring some examples of sustainable swaps, to kind of show people, like, there are alternatives out there to plastic. And then leave quite a bit of time open for questions, because I think we're gonna have a lot of questions. And then Ben put together a little mailer. We talked about kind of dividing up the city in terms of not wanting to blow the budget in terms of sending out a mailer. So kind of looking at areas around the library that will get a postcard about the event, and then putting together a flyer that we would then, get out like we normally do, and then kind of talk through getting the word out other ways through social media and other avenues. And then we were looking at when people arrive, they would get like a raffle ticket, and we would do a couple of drawings to give away some reusable bags. So that's.
So you guys are gonna be the two presenters essentially.
Yeah.
And probably will have 30 to 45 minutes of content and followed by, half hour plus of Q&A for people.
Yep.
I think it would be good too if you have, especially with plastics, have a little display. These are the things you can put in your bin.
Yep.
These are the things you can't.
Yep.
Why can't you?
Right. Yeah, because it is. I mean, every night my husband's like, he'll pull something out and he'll say, what about this? What about this? What about this? And so,
He's just trying to get a reaction out of you.
he is.
Well, it's also disappointing when you get like two identical looking mailers. One of them you can recycle, one of them you can't because it's already got recycled content, and apparently 2 is the limit.
Yeah, it can be pretty complicated, more complicated than it needs to be. That's
and then there's any number of plastic things you get that have no indication whatsoever on them.
Right. And then, if there's time, obviously talk about the bin at the recycling center and the foam, like styrofoam, and have some examples of what can go into that as well, since that's another piece of it that the city.
Yeah, that's opened up more, just to use black polystyrene.
Yeah.
Now we can take packing peanuts and
Plastic
the
bags.
wrap, lots of things. So
Yeah.
kind of all those different things. So I think that'll be great. Like I know what the root of this event was, not only plastic-free recycling, but that other event that you guys went to and saw what people were willing to
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
And it was just
And this
not
won't
knowing-
cost you anything,
Yeah, right.
right? We're saving you money,
Yeah.
and all you have to do is, you know, put it in your bin and,
So how many postcards are gonna go out roughly?
So they're out, I think. They maybe hit mail today or tomorrow, 250.
250?
It's essentially kind of looked at neighborhoods nearby the library.
Yeah.
Tried to take kind of a random sample.
Yep.
So we'll see how that works
So
out.
it's not going to everybody in a certain division, you're just kind of like, yeah.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, it's a one tactic. We'll see how it works.
Okay, well, I mean, we can use this going forward, so like our total cost of that's like $100 or something like that?
It's a little more than that. Yeah, I think it was less than $1 per postcard, but it was.
Yeah, well,
But like 80 cents of that is
It's a lot. It's
postage.
mostly the cost is like mostly postage. Yeah, but we'll see. I don't really have a good gauge of how many people that get the postcard will turn out, but if it works out, I think we try doing the same thing again with because we were talking about potentially doing this at House Tahochi,
yeah.
and then just kind of targeting neighborhoods around that site.
No, I think that's good. In terms of, do you want any like food for the event? Like, should we speak with Ian's Pizza? We haven't played that card, or they've donated pizza before, so we could have Sharon from our team, reach out and see if that's a possibility. So like, we'll probably figure that out in the next day or two, so that if you're finalizing a flyer that we're trying to get out, we can see if that's a possibility.
Sure.
But always good to have an incentive. Obviously, we don't want any plastics at the event. So we need to be ultra careful on that.
Yeah.
Make sure- And we typically are, just, our optics on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can't be giving out like plastic water bottles.
No.
And, it's not a good look.
Not allowed.
Diana, do you have a?
Hi. Yeah, I do have a question. So I was curious about how the city currently tracks plastic waste that ends up in the street or public areas. I was just thinking, is there a method or data that helps identify where recycling isn't happening so we can target that audience?
So unfortunately, when we get data back from Pelletary, they're only really able to provide us with kind of the citywide. Well, I said they're only able to, but they only do provide us with the citywide. I wonder if they could provide us just kind of a route breakdown, because there's 5 different routes, one for each day of the week. But that's a good suggestion. I don't know if that is something they can provide, but I'll find out about that.
Yeah, I think that will help us in the focus the outreach and education efforts. I'm thinking about Spanish-speaking communities as well, and how sometimes they don't know how to dispose things. You guys, we don't know, and we're here for a while, but some people that just arrive and just move in, they just don't have the information, and so I was thinking about it.
Even people who move here from other communities, because
Right.
we recycle a whole
Right.
lot more than.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
And then there's a difference also between multifamily recycling and what we do at the residential side of things. So
Yeah.
it is a complex beast. I think, again, the root of this was Ben and Kim going to an event where a bunch of people were getting ready to pay, for doing plastic recycling things that we already offer in the community. So obviously there's a knowledge gap there. So we're trying to hit a broad swath of people with this event, but that doesn't mean that there isn't more work to do at all. we know that we want to, and we set that as one of our goals, if I remember right, at the beginning of the year, like, trying to find a way to get into multifamily complexes and do something, not just plastics, but also recycling, and, we have a good location to potentially do that. And, I would challenge us to try to find a time to do an event like that sometime, in the latter half of this year, to make that happen and get into some different areas, like we do have a lot of events at the library, but, there are, like you say, like other places that we can go and try to do these events. We've been at grocery stores trying to reduce plastic bags for a number of years, and we've switched that around to different grocery stores. We've done the multifamily recycling events at apartment complexes in the past, but it has been a little bit of time. So we definitely want to get back in and try to find an opportunity to do that again. But we're going to learn from those events, and maybe this time we can figure out how to scale it a little bit better, because that's always the challenge. Is there's so many different multifamily complexes. How do you possibly get the information out to all of them? And they have different rules sometimes at those, so we just have to kind of figure out, but that's probably one of the bigger challenges, is the multifamily complexes, and I do want to try to tackle that. So I guess in terms of, so this is 10 days from now, like, so you guys are going to be pretty busy kind of preparing your content and collecting materials. So if the rest of us can kind of help out with some of the social media related things, or neighborhood emails, or whatever your
do you have
would be.
The image for the postcard? You can just email to the.
I do have a flyer. I just got that done before this, so I'll share that as well.
Okay. And then I guess the big thing will be if, like, we're gonna add pizza onto that. So, like, Kim, would you be able to follow up with Sharon and see if she can look into that, or do you want me to?
I can, if she's not available,
Okay.
then I would
Just
ask somebody.
ask me to
Okay,
do it
Okay.
then. Just
Okay.
text her, and then, or you can do
Yeah.
a text chain, and
okay,
if I see Sharon responds and is
Yeah.
doing it, then great.
okay,
So kind of
perfect.
send it to both of us, and if she picks
Okay.
it up.
It is a RCC thing. Might be nice to have vegan options.
Vegan options, all right.
ES does that, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
We must.
I think they do. I don't think Pizza Hut does.
But I mean, I think I don't know if we should just add that. Were we thinking that we would just potentially purchase, I don't know if you guys purchase pizza for the Wally.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Okay. All right. So we'll figure that out. But we need to kind of
Yeah.
push it in the next couple days, and like I want to try to get marketing material out like later this week.
Yeah.
So I can kind of like Kim, if you could just kind of look something over, Ben, like I'll send something to you. If one of you guys can look at it, see that we're representing things
Yeah.
correctly, then we'll get that out. Like Ben, I could maybe supply you with a couple social media posts similar to what I did with the food and composting.
Yeah.
So we could do those things. I mean, I think that's the best, between the postcards and doing this. I guess the only other question I have is your media contact that you have. Do you think that this
I'm
is the
planning
opportunity to reach out to?
Yeah, as soon as, once I get the flyer, I wanted to have this meeting first, but yeah, I was gonna reach out to her. I have her email and see if she would be willing to come and cover it and do a thing on it. And I don't know if we wanted to see about FACTv as well.
Yeah.
Find out. I'm sure they'd be happy to if they don't have
Another-
meetings.
Yeah, well, and you
Or
might
other
have to,
events.
I mean, that involves some financial implications as well.
Sure,
so.
sure.
Okay.
I guess, yeah. I'm sure they would love to if they're able to.
Yeah.
So yeah, as always, like we target these events to last like an hour and a half. So it looks like we're gonna hit within that mark. I know people are busy during the summer, but July has been tabbed as plastic-free month, and so it's best for us to do our event in the month of July if we can. So thanks for the efforts on putting this together. Like, I'm excited that we're building to the stage of doing an actual event for this. So I know you've been building this over the past few years, so this is an exciting next step.
One other thing, I had made a contact through my other plastic recycling group that I'm working with through my work, Beyond Plastics, and they're located in, or they're based out of Madison.
Oh, your neighbors? Okay.
So I'm going to be meeting with Liz to kind of get some more information about their group, but she was interested to see if we could also partner on an event together at some point. So I think that would be great because it's more of a grassroots group, so we can kind of combine forces.
Yeah, very good. Any other questions or comments about this event? Hoping that several of us are able to attend, as it's good for us to all be knowledgeable as well as people ask us questions as leaders in resource conservation within the community. So if you're able to attend, that would be awesome. All right, moving on to agenda item 5B, sustainability tour planning. So I know we kind of set, this event as, a goal, but we are looking to try to have an event, this later this summer or this fall, with sustainability tour. So Ryan's been talking to several people about this, and I think it's developing. We have some good ideas and concepts. So just want to see if there's anything new on that front that's developed in the last month.
Andy and I put together some dates and sent them over to Diana. So I'm hoping that we're September, either 12th or the 27th seem to be the best, but generally September. We tried to avoid the recycling event on the 19th. There's also the Bike to the Border on the 18th that I feel if we're, so trying to avoid that weekend. Badger games early on, trying to avoid those. 12th and the 27th seem to be the best. 27th is a Sunday, 12th is a late evening Badger game, so.
Oh yeah, so that's earlier.
Yeah, so I sent it over to Diana. I'll follow up with Diana when she can chat with Rob. I'm gonna meet with Andy in the next couple of weeks, kind of hash out, I think, the kind of focus of what we'd want to do in Terra Vesta. Andy texted actually Phil Sveem, I think, see if he actually wouldn't mind, because I think it could be kind of cool to have the sustainability side of it, and then also like speak to whether we're actually seeing interest in the Terra Vesta neighborhood. Like, I don't know, is there a bunch of people now moving in there? It's, it's single family, multi-family, and apartment dwelling all in that community, which is, I think, unique, especially when you get so much NIMBYism, especially in suburbia, of not wanting multifamily housing in your neighborhood. So I think it's a cool opportunity to have that kind of intersection of sustainability and economic growth, and development. So he already reached out to Phil. I have no idea if he's responded yet or if these dates work, and we'll wait, I think, on getting back from Diana. If it works for Rob for September, we can push it into October as well, if it ends up, if dates don't work for Rob. One thing we've been talking about, just depending on how long, it's like a 30-minute bike ride from Terra Vesta to the boardwalk. If we do end up spending an hour in Terra Vesta to an hour and a half, may want to try and push the boardwalk into a different tour or event, just if we're going to ask people to either, I guess our argument would be to have people go to Terra Vesta, and then we can park in the school lot or whatever there, and then walk around Terra Vesta and have Rob kind of talk about those things. I think if we're going to try and limit it to an hour and a half, a 30-minute bike ride just to get to the boardwalk might be, just throwing that out there. So we'll talk about that when Andy and I meet.
To see what would be reasonable. I mean, like what can be, if if you're getting feedback like, well, this isn't even worth my time if we only have 30 minutes, you know, like,
Yeah.
I think, so people are, you know, presumably would be biking out to Terra Vesa, there would be some type of tour out there, you know, not on bike, but more walking, you're thinking?
That I think would be the easiest. I mean, it seems super walkable out there. I've never been to Terra Vista neighborhood, so, but it seems.
What sort of highlights are we gonna
I
aim
think like
for?
the actual development, you know, the whole concept of no runoff, I think is really an interesting piece to it, and how we assure that, what we're doing long-term to, as more development continues to happen, trying to get into what we did to ensure that, and whether that's something that we can pick up and move into as we continue to grow as a city. Like, is that a concept that's going to be feasible for other
That's the new
neighborhoods?
rule for everything going forward, right?
Yeah, right.
All stormwater has to remain on site.
So, and I think
That'd be
too,
nice.
getting Phil's side of things of like, we know that these types of endeavors are way more expensive, but certainly more expensive than just letting some developer find some cornfield and do what they want to it.
Yeah.
So has he, from Phil's side of things, been able to, you know, fill what's the vacancy rate in that area? Have they been able to fill the multifamily homes? Are you consistently seeing more single-family homes built in that area as well? Like, is it cost prohibitive at all? You know, to take that type of approach to new development, I think would be interesting if people are even showing up to it too.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, I think, a possibility, like, because I think, trying to think of where the pond is, because I think I've been out to that pond before for some type of tour. Maybe a long time ago, but like, I feel like the pond's over like in the south,
There's
east corner.
There's a bioretention basin right by kind of Lacey and
Yeah.
and then you've got kind of that big wetland area,
Yeah.
and that's on the perimeter. There's a few, they're called just kind of stilling basins, kind of small ponds, and if you walk along the bike path, you can see those. To the south, on the north of the bike path, there's also 2 more bioretention. And then I think the really unique thing out there is the median and terrace infiltration areas. So that's where there'll be a curb cut in the terrace so water can infiltrate into a rain garden, or in the median where there'll be a curb cut in the median and water can actually infiltrate near where it's falling. So that's, there's definitely some interesting and unique.
Those mediums are native prairie plantings, right?
Right, and yeah, there's definitely more native planting out in Terra Vesa than there is in any other neighborhood too.
It's interesting, we got so much to talk about, we can't even mention the net zero school, which would be
The
an
net zero
awesome
school.
So that's what I'm
topic as
thinking
well.
is like, you go to the, like, you almost meet at the pond, and then the school's on the other side, if I'm remembering
To the
correctly.
north, yeah.
So then you go up to the, ride your bikes essentially to the school, you meet there, maybe look at a couple, like, we're building this as a sustainability tour, so like, you have to kind of like go and check out your points, like, it's not like a presentation with all these, so like, you go to these points, maybe along the way you're stopping at like a median to kind of show the infiltration, and then maybe you pick one other feature in the neighborhood. I don't know if that's a business or a home or something like that. If there's a net zero home, like, a nickel tour of that, like, not necessarily going in it, but like, this is, a net zero home, this is what they've done. But you're just kind of continue up, so you're in the north part, and then from there, I don't know exactly how the bike path, but like, I feel like, if we can get that to target between like 30 and 45 minutes, kind of that time in Terra Vesa, then you hop on your bike, I feel like, 15 to 20 minutes, you'll be able to get down the Cap City Trail down to that spot, and we'd be able to do the water item as well, and then keep that at like a half hour. I mean, it's all right if something like this goes like, that hour and a half to 2 hours, because it's not all sitting in a seat at watching some presentation, so it's actually active.
It'll be in September, so hopefully it'll be comfortable weather.
It'll be comfortable weather, but like, I don't know, if we just build, kind of a tour around some of those concepts and somewhat those timelines, and like, there's some flexibility to that, but like, I'd love to see it all happen in, one tour instead of having to split it up in multiple tours, and you have to continue to talk about it and plan another event, which I know you don't mind, but like.
Yeah, no, I don't. I didn't know whether the linkage between the two, right? Like starting at Terra Vista and then biking on the path to a totally different area.
Right, I don't know the bike path that would be, but I think you could go down Lacey Road essentially.
We talked going from Larson, going on north on Larson up to Cap City, and then
there you go. That works.
But it's about a half hour from Terra Vista to get to it's like 5.5 miles or so.
Oh, it is 5.5 miles. Okay.
Yeah, so taking Larson up to the Cap City and then taking Cap City over to about where Pro Mega is.
Yeah, okay.
That should work. Larson Road doesn't have shoulders. I mean, it's not that long a stretch on there, but we could backtrack and hit Sherrill, and then take Sherrill to the side path and up. That's longer, but more comfortable, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, not knowing how many people are gonna wanna show up or come out for it anyways, it's hard to tell. Would there just be interest in one or the other? And when you're moving like that, I guess that's.
Yeah.
But I mean, and that's something that I'll talk about.
Yeah, hash it out, like, just trying to, we can keep it a tour and have a bike ride in the midst of it.
Yeah.
Great, but like, if you're just finding like this just is gonna be, there's too much to see here, like, we should just focus on this one and do another event, but like.
Yeah, and I mean.
I'd love to do them all in one event if we could.
And Pro Mega's got more to offer, don't they? Their campus, if we wanted to do something that focused on what Pro Mega does in the community, I mean, or am I wrong on that? For our resource conservation stuff.
Their big parking structure is completely covered in solar. I don't know what other, they got that, like, they've got a garden out back.
Yeah, they've got, they've got their kind of big prairie swale, just, behind Agora. They've got like their greenhouses where they grow their food. And they probably have other stuff that I don't even know about. Phil might know, I don't know. But if they have anything like more from the energy efficiency side that's unique.
I think they might have purchased a portion of O'Brien solar field. I think they might have been part of that with the city of Fitchburg at the time.
Okay.
They also were pretty early with the EV charging stations in their structured parking garage too.
Yeah, I mean, they have no shortage of sustainability features. We've been in there plenty for different events. So, those are all options. Like I guess I would just, we could talk about options for months and months. Like I just want to get into some finality and structure for you, so you don't have to be in the kind of hemming and hawing, different ideas. Like I think we've landed on some good ideas. So, I guess
I'm curious about this. I've been looking at the Forest Edge Elementary School, which is on net zero, right? And I wonder if they have worked with Focus on Energy on like doing the project. I just don't. I'm gonna research myself. I don't want to get an answer, but I was just thinking. I wonder what happened there. Okay. I don't know. I feel like maybe. Sorry, those are my dogs. I feel like maybe somebody from Focus or somebody that working with them can also like do a tour or something and explain energy efficiency in that school. That makes sense? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think we can.
Sorry, I was excited and I started to look at all the information I had on my monitor. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think a good next step would be to like kind of make a draft game plan for this is what the tour is going to consist of and here's what the timeline is. Yeah. And then like we can react and talk about it at that stage, you know, and you can kind of share your concerns, but like, I feel like if we try to get something concrete on paper, then that can help us, you know, decide like, you know, do we want to bike this tour, does the timing work out, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But I would say that would be a good next step to target, to maybe try to have that draft before the next meeting. So like if we're, you know, and the date. So if we, you know, say it's going to be September 12th or the 27th, whatever that might be, if you just have like a draft cut of, you know, here's what we've kind of come up with for our agenda for the sustainability tour, then we can kind of talk through that as a group and hash that out, and make kind of final decisions on what the final structure of that event will be, and then we can shift into promotion of the event. But I think that would be a good next step. Any other
I will come
questions?
back with those dates as soon as possible so we can plan in advance. So it was September 12th and September 27th, right? Or September 12th.
Yeah, I mean, if there's other dates that are better for Rob, we can certainly make those work. I just would avoid the 19th because that's the recycling time.
Makes sense.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Moving on to agenda item 5C, the Fitchburg Star articles. Andy, where are we at with that? Who's on tap?
I got the next one for August.
Did my June article go in?
It didn't, so do you want yours to go in August and I can do September?
Yeah, I probably need to make a couple adjustments and resubmit, but
Okay.
I could just do that and resubmit. And I don't know how that affects other articles that, you know, are at, you know, particular time because of where they're landing, you know, with trying to promote something. Like, I know a good one is like energy efficiency, like we like to time that out in October or November ahead of the winter months. You know, I know that's a little ways out, but like, the food waste one, or the composting one is one that we should probably, you know, fix up and get that one done, because we, you know, it seems like people are still signing up, and, you know, we're still getting, you know, I'm sure you'll probably read some numbers, you know, at your update coming up, but like, seems like it's doing all right, but like, you know, we want to kind of continue to pitch it so we can make a decision if we're going to a second point or staying with 1 point, right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, I think, so Andy, I'll plan the August article, and then Ben would be September, and how does that shift others around?
Next we had Diana, getting your home ready for winter, so that would be good for October.
Okay.
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 And then Ron, you want November?
Yep.
Topic to be determined, or do you have a topic, Ron?
What's that?
Do you have a topic?
Not yet.
Okay. So that pretty much almost gets us to the end of the year. I don't know.
Who has October?
Diana.
And then
Diana.
who has September? Oh,
Ben.
Ben does now,
September,
because I've
take
got
off
August. And, you know, there could, I mean, maybe we should just plan on that, because I'm guessing there could be some election pushes.
Yeah, that's.
Maybe, I don't know, we don't have at the local level.
We'll find out, I guess.
We'll find out what happens as we get closer to November. But
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have topics for each month? Have you ever thought about having topics for each month?
Kind of. I mean, normally Kim takes June or July for plastic-free article. I know Ben likes to do salt-wise at some point, or something similar to that.
Yeah, that or a leaf-free streets or something like that in the fall.
So, I mean, we have more than 12 topics, you know, so there's, you know, like, I don't know, dozens of topics that we've written about, and so it varies, but we try to time them out, like, with the time of the year that they make sense to do them, like, we wouldn't do a leaf-free streets article in March, you know? So, I mean, we're always kind of thinking about that, so that's kind of what this discussion is for, to, you know, like, if you have an idea that you want to vet, but like, generally it times out pretty well that we're kicking things out that are timely with the time periods that things are happening on that front, so, you know, like, Kim doing the plastic-free article in the month of July, which was, you know, kind of this month, so, you know, that's generally our, you know, and some topics don't necessarily need to be associated with a timeline, but like, where it makes sense, I think we try to make that happen. But I feel like with these 4 articles that may get us to the end of the year if we get another article bumped for whatever reason. And then we can kind of start over again, you know, as we get closer to December, January.
Yeah, October, well, November, we got that general election coming up, so.
Yeah, I know. So that's gonna be
highly good potential of an article get bumped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is a high potential for that. Okay. All right, so we feel good about that? Everybody's on board? Perfect. Diana, I know you, one more thing on that. I know you had some questions about article, like being able to share more photos. So like generally we have like a certain amount of room, like what is it, like 500 to 700
I think
words?
it's 750 words.
Is our limit. So I mean, I think, you know, if you have a headshot, like sometimes they'll put that in, like
or they'll find one themselves and it will be the wrong one, right?
or that, unfortunately. They wanted to find, you know, something for you, but like I've written all these articles over the years, I don't think I've ever had my headshot in there. So,
get a selfie next to the orange bin.
Something. So I think, you know, if you, and then we're trying, you know, we're not supposed to do like so much bulleted lists, like sometimes we, you know, it just really makes sense to do one, but like generally they don't want to have bulleted lists. And then, you know, if you have a photo, you know, it doesn't hurt to share it, but like, I don't know, we haven't had too many of those printed in the past, but I also don't think that we've submitted too many of them either, so it's not a bad idea to potentially try it if you have an image that really helps to convey your message. I just don't know if they'll make the space for us.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And I have a question now.
Sure.
So in terms of accessibility, do you think that there's a possibility, I don't know, this year, next year, whenever, to have the Fitchburg start in a bilingual, like that is bilingual, so everybody, so we know the Latino community is increasing here, so I just want to make everybody aware that, oh, it's my daughter, sorry. There's information that is being shared that is important.
Yeah, so there is a Spanish section of the Fitchburg Star, correct?
I don't know, I don't speak enough Spanish to know how well it covers the English portion though.
Yeah, so I don't, but it does exist, and I don't know what type of things they typically cover in it, but certainly something to check into. They may be looking for articles as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in the age of, you know, having translation opportunities there, like, yeah, I mean, that would put a little bit more pressure on our Spanish-speaking board member to like review and make sure we're stating things correctly. But yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty cool. I mean, the articles that we have now, like a lot of times I think the message would translate. So definitely a consideration. Diana, do you want to look into that and just see if they might be willing to take some articles, if they would like that content?
Yes, definitely. I like to know like what are the next steps then to make that accessible. And what we do, at least we're like in Focus on Energy, we use a lot of like AI to translate, but then I kind of like review it, so it doesn't take a long time for me to just go over the article, you know?
Right, yeah, just make sure we're not stating something completely incorrectly.
Exactly. Yep.
But, you know, like I think a lot of times the articles could just be converted over, you know, you could give a read through, but like, it's also like, is the content something that, you know, they want in that version? So, if you can do an inquiry on that, that'd be great.
Okay. Okay.
All right. All right. Next item is Green Thursday event planning. So I think we've already kind of talked about like some Green Thursday. So this is more so kind of forecasting ahead. You know, like I know we've talked a little bit about the multifamily event that we'd like to have maybe later this year. We do have a couple more films. So we have one in September and one in November, right?
Yep.
What's the one in September again?
September is
They're pretty good.
Poisoned, the dirty truth about your food.
Okay.
And then in November, it's Buy Now, the shopping conspiracy.
Yeah. So again, like those kind of time out well, you know, with those times of year. So I think that's good. How did the Wally go?
Well, that's had a pretty unfortunate mistake I made. I just missed it. So
It was a packed house.
It was?
Oh, yeah,
It was like
oh, you were there, Bill?
I was, yeah.
40 people?
43, I think Rebecca said.
So the film ran?
Yeah, I was sitting out at Crescent Road and drove home.
Oh, no. So we just didn't have anybody introduce it? Or?
The librarian did
Okay.
somewhat, yeah.
Okay, well that's fine.
And then
I mean,
somewhere along the line, like a body bag size load of popcorn showed up, and I'm not sure how that was managed.
Okay.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, I mean, I feel bad too, because in the past, I've always reached out to Rebecca and Ben and just, you know, made sure everything was good, and I was at my camp, and so.
Yeah. And I was on a plane coming back from Africa, so we weren't in the best positions from our staffing standpoint. Like I don't think we've ever had a situation like that where we haven't been able to staff it like that. So.
Well, moving forward.
43 people though, like holy cow.
I mean, there was quite a number of kids there.
Yeah.
Some of them came in costume.
Oh, really?
Really? Wow.
Yeah, there was one kid, his parents were talking, cause when the movie ends, you know, the credits roll and the parents were like, nope, we have to stay until the little extra clip at the end. This is his favorite movie, that his third grade class took a field trip out to the Dane County landfill and he was in heaven.
Future member.
It was one of my son's favorite for a long time. All right, well, I mean, like, the good news, I mean, like, I thought you were gonna tell me that nobody showed up. So.
Figure's the one that we had the most people at, but.
When did it hit you?
Monday.
Oh.
I know, felt really bad.
It was, yeah, that was an all-time blow for me, so I was pretty upset about that,
But we have a plan with the library moving forward in terms of, you know, just making sure we know like who the people are, contact information, like probably stuff we should have had in place to begin with, but now we know.
All right, well, I mean, I'm happy that there was a good turnout at it.
Yeah.
That's positive. So, we'll still have kind of a final assessment of this whole thing, but like, that's our best turnout so far. But we've had a couple that weren't as well attended, but we have had several that have been good attendance and had good discussion following. So, maybe we're doing this more like, every 6 months, since it's so hard to get the films. We'll assess that as we
I
get to the finish
suspect
line.
Wally probably draws a bigger audience than hearing about how you're being poisoned by your food and you shouldn't do any holiday shopping.
Yeah, I mean,
True.
that's very true. But I guess it also speaks, I guess it gives a level of feedback, that
least
maybe we should focus on some more family-friendly,
Yeah.
activities. Like, I know one of our most popular events that we did, and it's like probably 14 years ago now, or maybe not that long, but like building bat houses was actually a pretty well attended event. So, things like that, like, like, especially in the summer months, like, maybe that's a good sign that, like, maybe we should try to build a family-friendly event into each summer months, because, kids aren't in school and families are looking for things to do. So I think there's valuable feedback gained, even though maybe it wasn't our best, coordination attendance effort.
But it's interesting that, word does get out, we can draw a big crowd. So maybe that informs us as to the type of content people want, but also, it was July 2nd. I mean, we were heading into the holiday weekend, still everybody came.
That's great. Well, very good. Anything else to say about that, or anything else coming up? I mean, I think we have those events in September and November. And then I think, once we get past the plastic event, then we'll try to take a harder look at what we can do for a multifamily event at some point this fall. But, I mean, I would say we're really getting after it as a commission this year with the number of events that we've done and attended or put on or volunteered at. Like, we have really gotten after it this year, so I'm pretty proud of how we've gotten out in the community and have put on events trying to get information and doing community outreach the way we have this year.
Well, if we're thinking about friendly events, we always, at both my high school and middle school conservation camp, we always do fun projects. We always build either birdhouses, pollinator boxes, bat houses at the high school camp, and then do something with the middle school camp. We did native seed pollinator plant bombs, and this year we did window clings with puffy paint for windows so the birds don't hit the windows.
I need some of those.
That was fun, and now I know how to do it. We've built like pollinator little pools for bees and stuff. So
I think that would maybe pick up where our no mow and low mow, kind of fell off a little bit this year. Like, I think, this was a conversation I had with the UW guy when we were at the event in April. I said, like, what's, it's like, if you just have like a planting and can help pollinators, like the low and no mowing, may help, but we don't really have a lot of data behind that. But like, if you can get some, a portion of your property and add some plantings where they can pollinate, that's probably for the better. And so
I think it'd be neat if we could have an event where we can give out a little seed pack, you get a couple purple cone flowers and black-eyed Susan.
I was
whatever.
able to get like a whole pack of seeds from Dane County Land and Water Conservation. That's who we represent through work and stuff, so I could probably get.
That'd be cool. We could, and maybe even do, have it at a park somewhere, and maybe even do like build a small rain garden, and if people wanna kind of like see what that's all about, and maybe plant a few.
There was an event in Middleton within the last couple of months where somebody wanted a rain garden on his property, and they got a bunch of volunteers, And they all came together and they helped. So now everybody there has experience building a rain garden.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I was exactly thinking about that. Like, I wanted to do my rain garden in my house. I was like, where should I put it? I asked my father-in-law, and he was like trying to give me some direction. But yeah, that might be super fun.
I think that's a pretty novel idea to like get somebody to, somebody wants to do it, they apply, it's a good candidate, that we could build and then go and teach others like, how to do it.
That's a pretty big endeavor though too. So I mean, but if you had little kits where you could say, look, do 3 square feet of your yard, just make a little.
We've been doing like downspout gardens, we're calling them.
Okay.
Like a kind of a micro rain garden that you just do right by your downspout, essentially. And that would be much easier or approachable, I think, for people. Another thought, but I mean, it's really the same thing. It's just kind of a smaller version.
Small scale.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Can you do a rain garden in a multi-family building? Sorry, I'm just asking questions here.
If they got the space.
Yeah. If there's space on the property for it.
That might be something like, everybody's gonna have some sort of a stormwater facility. Can you build a rain garden into that? Like, you got along the grade, you put a little bit of.
Sure, just a little depression, yeah. That's all.
I don't see why not, like, I mean, it's all, you're trying to slow down, so like that's just another feature that's, giving you, it's almost like putting a moat in front of the moat in front of a castle, like.
Yeah.
It's like just another, another tactic to try to slow down water and improve quality, improve infiltration, so.
Well, at the same time, having some pretty flowers that help the pollinators.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think those are some good thoughts. We can kind of think about that, but like, I think that'd be a pretty awesome idea for next spring. All right.
I have good seed sources too. I mean, we have like 500 acres of prairie at the Prairie Enthusiasts, and we don't let anybody collect anything, but under guidance, we have plenty of like Rudbeckia ratibida, sorry, I'm speaking Latin, like yellow coneflower, black-eyed Susan. We even have like shady stuff like American bellflower and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, like I think about my own yard and like my entire front yard is shaded because I got 5 trees out there, and I look at my backyard and I got 5 more trees, and there's not a whole lot of sunshine left in my backyard. So having some shade tolerant plants as well as sun lovers would be great.
All right, I like where this is going, so I just want to make sure we capture it and pull this idea forward, because I think we had a lot of good ideas and we have some great connections to see, it would seem. So, good stuff. All right, moving into the council update, Bill.
All right, I'll just run through a list of interesting things that have happened since our last meeting, and a couple of future events here. So there's that senior housing along Nesbitt Road that had a groundbreaking. We had our first concert at McKee. The next one is 1 week from tonight. The senior center had a Juneteenth program, and we raised the flag. The library celebrated its 15th anniversary. The mayor is doing listening sessions in each of the districts. The District 4 listening session took place at the end of June. The District 2 listening session is taking place on July 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Hostahochee. The police facility is still on track for the February 2027 opening. Street resurfacing is underway. The sidewalk maintenance should be starting this month if it hasn't already. As should the Wayland Road Shoulders project. both the police department and the fire department within the span of a month have announced changes to how they're providing services to the city. There's been discussions that you can find on our YouTube channel if you want to hear more about that. It is an election year, and we've got absentee ballots have been sent out for the August primary. In-person absentee voting starts July 28th, if that's your thing. Oh shoot, yeah, as long as we were talking about police department, I should mention Logan Brown has been promoted to captain. So I guess off the top of my head, I think Drew McCarthy is a captain. I'm not sure if there's another. Ned Harwick was, but he left us. So Logan might be half of the captains now. Chicory Meadows basketball and tennis and pickleball courts are now open. There will be a little kind of a ribbon cutting ceremony for that on the 21st. The Promega Boardwalk is open, as we've already noted. If you haven't been out there, it's pretty cool. July 27th in Southdale Park, 5 p.m. There's going to be a movie in the park. And we have chosen a vendor for the update to the city's comprehensive plan and our zoning ordinance. This is going to be quite a lengthy process. They're figuring 18 months for each, and they cannot do them in parallel, so they're going to do the comprehensive plan for 1.5 years and then the zoning ordinance for 1.5 years. That's the end of my update.
Excellent. Thanks, Bill. Staff and commissioner updates. Ben, stormwater.
Staff completed the outfall inspections for Zone 2. Didn't have any illicit discharges reported or found. So nothing super interesting to note on those, which is a good thing. We're still working through the 2026 citywide storm basin and channel inspections. Gotten a little bit slowed down with that, with ongoing construction inspection that's taken priority over this, but you might just kind of take a little break on it and get back to it in the fall. We do, and we've even had him doing the construction inspection. Yeah. We've been participating in the Renew the Blue Council, MAM-SWAP, and Yahara Winds meetings. Nothing too critical, I think, to report out of any of these groups. We did have a Popsicles in the Park event. This was, at the end of June. We had this little Enviroscape model. It's basically just, it's kind of a plastic model of, you could say any city. It's got a little farm area, streets. You dump different sprinkles on it as contaminants, and then kids can kind of spray it with the water bottle, and you can kind of see how the water picks up all the sprinkles, and then it all ends up in the lake. So that was pretty cool. There were actually quite a few people that stopped by and checked that out. I think a little bit of maybe people just wanted to spray their friends with the spray bottle, but no, that was actually pretty cool and definitely something I'd like to bring out and do again. Crescent Road Stormwater Project has been taking up quite a bit of time the last several weeks. Just ran, I wouldn't say issues, but yeah, not issues, just some little field changes we had to make. It is kind of it's got some non-typical components, so there's some pretty large cast-in-place structures. It's a little bit different, so I've had a lot of inspection with that, and just with the rain, it's kind of at the worst spot you could have a construction project, because it's in the low spot, so it's where all the water wants to go, and so that's been that's been a challenge at times, but we're looking to get wrapped up, hopefully with all this storm sewer work this month. So once that's done, it should free up a decent chunk of staff time. Let's see what else. We got the project manual for the McKee Farms Park headwall replacement project. We'll be looking to bid that out fairly soon. We did have to get, we submitted for environmental resources review and then a wetland investigation. So those two things were just needed for a municipal transportation permit that we were advised to get for this project.
Can you just talk about the head wall replacement? What is that?
Yeah, so if you drive into McKee Farms Park, there's the splash pad, and then just south of the splash pad there's that big pond. So that big pond, all the water exits it through 3 culvert pipes, and then basically on top of the culvert pipes there's 2 head walls kind of on either end. That just holds all the soil in so you can build the road above it. One of the head walls, the western head wall, has a crack completely through it, and it's starting to fall over. There's got a sinkhole, so dirt's getting in, and then there's some other fairly big cracks elsewhere that haven't split completely through. So we thought about, is there any kind of Band-Aid or repair we could do? Not so much. So we're just gonna take it out and replace it. We contracted with R.A. Smith to do the structural design. It's quite a bit beefier than the existing design. I think the existing head wall only has about 8 inches of concrete. This is going to be over a foot of concrete thick, 12 inches thick. So it should certainly last, much longer than this existing one did. It's interesting, the other head wall is in okay condition. I think we can actually do a little bit of a repair on that before it cracks, just to kind of strengthen it, so we don't have to fully replace it. Yeah, that's the idea with that project. We are looking to do that in the winter. There will be some more costs with kind of the cold weather concrete protection, but I think
there's a little less traffic in and out of the
there's
park.
going to be less traffic, and hopefully it doesn't rain. So if it rains, that's an issue for this project, because you've got all that water flowing through right where you want to work. So you'd have to bypass pump it. We think if we do it in the winter, we can avoid a lot of that headache and hopefully not have any big erosion issues. So that's the plan with that one. We completed some markups and estimates for our proposed 2027 pond dredging project. So that's going to be Business Park A and Business Park B pond. So this is kind of by Marketplace and Executive Drive, just west of. If you take Schumann and you take it just west of Seminole, kind of by that, the fire department has their fire station over there. So there's a couple ponds in that area that we'll be looking to dredge.
What's the volume of the sediments?
Cubic yards. Oh, it's something, I think between the two, it's over 1,000 cubic yards.
And can that stuff just be dumped in the fill area to the north of McKee right there?
So that's the other thing, we're going to be contracting with, I don't remember who we went with, but we got some quotes. So we do have to do sediment testing because this is in a commercial kind of industrial area. Sediment testing is required. So we do have a contract for that. It should be completed this month. And then that will dictate whether or not we can use this beneficial reuse, or if it just has to get trucked to the landfill.
Do you have to get a general permit from a DNR for that?
No, but there are some forms that I have to fill out and basically kind of take ownership of the sediment. So, I'll have to be the sediment manager, and you basically kind of, you put in your test results that you get back, you fill out just some general information on the tributary area. We've already done some research into if there's been hazardous spills of any kind in the tributary area, so some of that information. And then we'll fill out, how many cubic yards actually did get taken out, so some of the stuff off on the back end of the project when it's completed, and then we sign and certify those. So we have those forms for all of the different ponds that we've dredged.
So you said it was adjacent to the fire department over there?
It's near that area.
Is there any drainage off the fire department? I'm just
There-
thinking if they're used fire retardant.
No, it is not within that drainage area. That's a little bit downstream of that. Your question about a general permit though, if the city was to dredge, there's a couple ponds that are online with streams. I think you'd need a GP to do those when we get to those.
Yeah. What's the cost for those 2 ponds?
I think we were at like 300,000, but that also includes, we're gonna replace the outlet structure for the Business Park B pond, and add a sediment forebay to Business Park B pond.
So you can maybe limit the area that needs to be cleaned up.
In the future,
And does the dredging come out of operating budget or capital budget?
It's capital,
It
so.
is, okay. So we could find that project in the CIP to see how much we budget every year, and do you know off the top of your head what that number is?
So it's funded about, it increases every year by a set rate, but it's about 250,000. So this project we're gonna do in winter, so we're gonna be able to use 26 and 27 CIP budgets, so it can be over the 250,000. Yeah.
And it all gets paid for from the stormwater utility, right?
Correct. Yep, so this is all 100% funded by rates.
Okay.
And those are some of the highlights.
Sounds good. Anything else on solid waste? I know we already talked about rates.
Yeah, so we're over 12,000 pounds as of June 29th.
Nice.
Pretty, I think that's pretty good.
Amazing.
We've got 338 people are registered. So it's, when we first launched, there was a huge influx, and then since then, it's tapered off, but it's each month, it's, couple dozen people joining, so it hasn't started declining or anything yet.
Have our weights gone down, or what's our peak weight at, or is it still increasing month to month?
Yeah, I think you see a general increasing trend. I think it slowed down in the winter. So there is, you can tell, it got cold, but people didn't. And then there was a big month, I think in November, which was kind of the first full month, but also there were a lot of pumpkins getting thrown in there. So that
was my doing, you could say.
That I think.
Everybody from the Oak Bank pumpkin giveaway, they just moved them from Oak Bank to the orange bins.
Yeah, so that was a little outlier for that reason, but if you kind of look at it, it's a rough trend in the direction you'd like to see.
Yeah, it comes out to 36 pounds per registered person.
That's pretty good. I would say I'm pretty close to that. I definitely have slowed in the summer months because, our places that we've got to switch tactics because we just get too many ants or fruit flies. Those issues. So, I'm just generally using the compost that we have at our house during the summer months. So, I haven't been going there as much as I was in the winter and the spring and the last fall. But
yeah,
so see. But that's good that it's continuing to increase.
It is. There hasn't been any issues. That was, I know, a concern with it being next to the park shelter if there were going to be issues with smells, and we have moved them just closer to kind of where that sign is when there has been an event. Just as it's just as a courtesy kind of a thing. But I think they've only done that a couple times, and it's not at all a big deal to do. So yeah,
festive, people should like that.
Yeah, right, add a little color to everything.
Maybe if we had a Verona graduation party there, but
Yeah,
Madison
yeah.
West, it didn't work out so well.
Well, it looks like it's been a great success so far. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, we're fortunate, I guess, that Dane County was able to get this thing up and running and
Yeah.
letting us get involved in it, so.
I mean, it's a good first step, so we'll see
Yeah.
where next steps are. I mean, it's still a small fraction of the overall amount of food waste.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know if I can venture a guess at what that is, but like we're, you know, under the 1% level, I think, still in terms of actual food waste that we're collecting, but like it's a start and it's been a pretty clean source of organics.
I mean, is there a goal to move it, to do it in other areas in the city?
I think we can maybe talk about
Maybe like
that.
on the northeast side and.
If we can expand and get a little bit
Yeah.
more geographic coverage.
Yeah, I think it's something we'd wanna discuss is, it would have to, I think, well, I could put it in as an additional operating budget cost for next year. Maybe I'll try that just in case. I don't know if it's gonna get approved or not, but I could throw it in there.
I mean, yeah, I guess we could see, I mean, if we think that this has been good, we're just trying to get more geographic coverage. I mean,
Yeah,
like maybe we just have a really good spot over there with so many
I'd love to keep it there and also see what would happen if we threw one out, you know, in more of the central area by Postahochi, where those apartments, or by the
I was wondering
kind of
if we
chalet
could go
garden
in
area.
with Madison on Eagle Jamestown Park.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I know they have a couple, maybe they'd be interested in doing one more and splitting the cost with Fitchburg. Yeah, let me,
I mean, it seems like fire station number 1 would be a good place to have one.
What's that fire station?
It's right
It's on Lacey Road.
Number 2.
Oh, this one?
There's,
Oh,
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the old one.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you got that whole new apartment complex coming up down there. You have all the homes.
Off at Seminole.
Yeah.
Yeah, once that's, yeah.
It's easy. in and
Especially
out.
once those, I mean, there's gonna be like 300 plus apartments there
Yeah.
over the next couple of years.
That
And we
might
got-
be a third, I mean, I like this idea to pursue like Madison, Fitchburg joint one and split the cost on it and put it close to a border in whatever spot you just listed, I don't know exactly.
Eagle Jamestown
Yeah.
or even
Near
up by,
Liverpool Park.
yeah, there's a couple spots where I think it would work, yeah.
So try that first, and then
Yeah.
like this is probably, you know, if we got to a third spot, like kind of triangulate it a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Put it in the center of the roundabout at
Yeah.
Seminole.
That'd be great. Keep parking in the
Throw your
roundabout.
banana peels at those.
No, they just drive in circles and toss stuff
Yeah.
until it's gone.
Only
And
food
you'll
scraps.
volunteer to stand there and grab it all and throw it in the
Only
garbage.
food
All right.
scraps.
That'd be fun. All right. Anything else on the solid waste?
Just that, yeah, continuing to work with Purple Cow on composting for 27 through 29. That's it.
Very good. Phil, your time has come for the sustainability update.
Howdy.
Hello.
So, let's see, got a few things. City staff have been working with the Focus on Energy group for a couple different items. We met with the projects team last week to discuss our planned renovations to the Civic Campus once the police department moves over to the new police services facility. Got to make final decisions on which incentive track we're going to pursue and the level of incentives we expect. Just as kind of a reminder, we're expecting about $50,000, just over $50,000 in rebates for the police service facility between the solar rooftop, the geothermal HVAC, and various energy efficiency design elements. We also just finally received our $150,000 check from Dane County Parks for that bike playground at Postahochi, so that closes the book on that. That bike playground, really excited to get that grant funding to make the playground possible. Still trying to work out a budget source for some solar inverter repairs. This is, stop me if you've heard this one, kind of a running theme here, but we have an inverter on the West Fire Station that has not really been functioning properly since late last year. But the cost of that is not something that we had in our operating budget, so we're trying to figure out where to pull funds from for that. Getting some weird data. We had an inverter replaced on the library rooftop last year, and it is, as far as we can tell, functioning, sending data to the website, but it's in an odd format, so we've got to get that investigated and see if there's something wrong or if it just needs a data correction. So working on that and hopefully get that handled soon. But no resolution yet. Also have our sustainable Fitchburg map on the Green Fitchburg website is down. Essentially the format of story map that was used to create that in ArcGIS maybe 10 years ago now, back when Ellen Geisler was the sustainability specialist. That format's no longer supported, so I'm going to meet with Dakota this week and try to get that resolved so that the sustainable map can be re-uploaded in whatever format is actually supported now. I've submitted applications for several Climate Champion awards. Dane County does their Climate Champion program every spring. Back in 2020, in the inaugural year of that, Claudia and I submitted several awards, and we had 4 recognitions, I believe, for the city. We got a level 3 Climate Champion recognition in water efficiency for the city, and then a couple of honorable mention and 1 level 1 for building energy use. I don't believe we've submitted any awards since then, and so this year I'm doing one for broad carbon reduction for overall city operations, and then I'm also looking into whether a broad renewable energy category that was created for any city buildings is something that would be applicable between solar rooftops and our geothermal HVAC systems. I think we may be candidates. It's tough because we don't get specific data from the geothermal on the full heating load output. What's the BTU load that they're actually providing for the buildings? So I've been trying to figure out if there's a way I can kind of model that, or if I'll just submit the data I do have to Dane County and see what they decide to do with it. But try to submit those by tomorrow, which is the due date, and we'll see if we get some more Climate Champion awards to post online. Last thing, the level 3 charging partnership with MG&E that did pass Common Council last month. Today, MG&E was out on site. As far as I know, I was actually in a meeting and wasn't able to join them, but with the electrician who is expected to do the work just to kind of go through scope of work and make sure they had everything squared away. Hope to hear back from them in the next couple days to see if they have any questions, but it sounds like they're moving forward pretty quickly on this. So hopefully in the next few weeks, certainly this summer, we expect to get those level 3 chargers in the southeast corner of the community center lot.
Hey Phil, I have a question. As part of the Renew the Blue team, my committee's looking at data management and how data is acquired throughout the watershed. And one of the things that we're looking at is the different types of land uses and the amount of data that's out there for the different types. And I was wondering, all these solar fields that are going up, they are currently on farmland. And that farmland is now not being used for farm. Are we looking at that as farm acreage is being reduced and being replaced by a different type, like prairie or grass or something like that? Because we want to know what that acreage might be if we're losing the X.
Like how do we categorize it now?
Yeah.
It depends. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not the best person to speak to it, but from what I do know and conversations I've had, I mean, certainly the Strix, I believe it was, solar farm. So that one was farmland, and now it is what's not solar panel posts, pillars, is grazing land for sheep. So there's the gentleman, I forget his name, with the herd of sheep that comes to graze there, and do they do that in place of lawnmowers? I assume that would be treated as I don't know, lawn or prairie or grazing land, somewhere in there. The O'Brien solar array, everything was planted underneath that with pollinator-friendly flowers. So I assume that would be categorized as prairie. I would be really interested to talk to somebody with the county to see if they're tracking that, or even within our planning department. It's not a conversation I've had, but at least it's not a permanent transformation, because once these, certainly when the ground-mounted solar panels that are there reach the end of their life, there's a possibility to renew it and put more solar on there. There's also the possibility to return it back to farmland again. That decision will be made when the time gets a little bit closer. So it's not necessarily a permanent switch away from farmland, which is an added wrinkle into that. But at least in the short term, I think the classification would probably depend on what's being done with the land underneath and around.
So has it been rezoned then, those land areas?
I think the zoning's the same.
Same as agriculture? Even though it's not being used?
I'm looking at it right now because it looks like it's still all zoned agriculture. So that must just be a permitted. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at now, so.
So that could, for us, that could be a misrepresentation of actually what the land is being used for. It's not being used for agriculture anymore. So, and how long does it stay out of agriculture production?
Typically 30 years.
Yeah, you could.
So can we say it's, going to be prairie now or grassland?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess what is the goal? Because
well, if we want to know how many, are we getting more prairie? Are we losing prairie? Are we gaining prairie? Are we losing agriculture? But now that's becoming prairie. So things like that we want to.
But what sorts of things are you measuring there? Like because there's not going to be any fertilizer there anymore. Right. There should be less runoff. There should be more grasses there. Right, so it should be more prairie-like. But so I guess maybe it's up to you to figure out how you want to classify it.
Yeah.
Right, depending on what your goals are or what we're trying to.
But even for the city,
we're trying to figure out how much more is infiltrating.
Yeah. Well, that could be one use of the database. Yeah, that this now is prairie land or open grassland. So, I mean, I don't know if the city looks at that. Well, we have now X amount of prairie now. We've gained a lot of prairie. So
I think the city, because of the zoning classification, the city probably still looks at it as agriculture land, and maybe you treat it the same way you would farmland if it's lying fallow. It's just an extended period of lying fallow. But I don't think we suddenly added it into like our parks and green space calculations. I think it's still treated as agricultural land, even if it's not currently in production.
Do we treat it differently for our modeling for TMDL?
So yeah, I think we're just we didn't have to include any solar sites because none of the solar sites are currently within the TMDL.
Oh, right, okay.
Well, Strix and Tido, I guess, are now, but it's in the rural area. It's a good question. I don't know. I did not have to figure that out.
One thing it does make me think about now, and this hadn't occurred to me until your question, Ron, is that when we did our green space and permeable, non-permeable surfaces analysis, or the consultant for the sustainability plan, Pale Blue Dot, they used a lot of satellite imagery to classify whether it was dark or light hardscape, or if it was more forest or grassland. A solar field is gonna have a very different satellite appearance, and so I wonder what that does to any satellite-based land use assessments, or if you just have to kind of manually override whatever the software thinks it's looking at.
I just wonder if we can get credits for having more prairie space or open land because of those panels or something, if we're going after a grant or something, so.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends. I think you'd have to look at what, to Bill's question, kind of what the ultimate intent is. If you're looking at runoff versus infiltration versus ecosystem support, there are different maybe new benefits or no change from existing.
I mean, could it compensate for ag land that's being lost for development?
Right.
trade-offs there, so.
Yeah, well, I guess it'd be interesting to see how much data there is in terms of, you know, people measuring in actuality, what is the difference between land underneath a solar field and actively farmed land versus.
Seems like a good senior design project.
Well, I was gonna say, I think there are some people even at UW that are working on trying to better answer that question.
I know, I think it's just something to think about, so.
How many total acres of solar field do we have now?
Well, you got Sunnyside, that's pretty big. O'Brien's pretty big.
O'Brien is
Strix
like
and-
160 acres.
and Tido.
What's the one between, behind the resource center? Going to, that big large, the new one?
That's the Sunnyside.
Yeah.
I feel like that might be about the same scale as O'Brien.
Yeah, it seems like.
Strix and Tido are both
Those are
like a
smaller.
third of that, right?
Yeah, probably.
So-
Maybe between 400 and 500 acres.
Which is,
Solar.
you know, the better part of a square mile, if it's 500 acres, 640 is a square mile.
I mean, it seems like
Get another.
if it's ag land that has solar on it, it's gonna be solar for a while. Ag land with nothing on it, it could be development at any time. Some landowner wants to sell it for a developer, so.
Yeah, no, I just see kind of what you're wrestling with in your mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Bill made a good point, you know, like kind of what are you trying to accomplish or measure?
Yeah.
And you answer that a little bit better than, you know, we can kind of, you know, each one might be a little bit different. So it's interesting to think about though, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, anything else, Phil?
No, that's everything.
All right. Good stuff. Any other activities being monitored by others that they want to share? No? All right. I think that pretty much brings us to the end of the meeting.
8:39.
8:39, great time.
Yeah.
I mean, you're set up pretty well with that agenda. Thanks, Ben.